Hey everyone, thanks for starting to learn to play games. My name is Lance, and in today's video, I'm going to look at a brand new game coming to Kickstarter called Terraternity. This is a new one by Igan Mich games. It is a 2 to 4 player game that takes roughly 1 to 2 hours to play, and is either competitive or cooperative depending upon the mode you've selected to play. In the game itself, we are going to be trying to bring countries to carbon neutral status by building different green energy plants, including hydro plants, wind plants, and solar plants. As we do this, we are also going to be producing carbon from all kinds of different sources that we're going to have to stack on top of the Terra Globe. And if they ever fall off, that will trigger a disaster, which we'll have to draw a disaster card from the disaster deck and resolve the effects of that, which will impact the players in lots of different ways. With that, if there is ever 5 disasters revealed, the game is over and the players have lost. Throughout the game, the players are going to have 10 turns to try to win the game. And again, depending upon the mode you've selected, if you're playing competitive mode, the first player that is able to complete 5 or bring 5 countries to carbon neutral status will be the winner of the game. Or if you're playing in cooperative mode, the players are going to collectively need to bring 8 countries to carbon neutral status. Now, along the way, you'll be able to play different types of cards, including action cards that will allow you to carry out all kinds of different effects. And some of these cards, or most of the cards, will also include all kinds of different information that will help you learn more about the ways that you can help in real life, being able to be more conscious about recycling and active and all kinds of different things that will help you to make those little footsteps that will improve everybody's life and hopefully save our planet along the way. So in this video, I'm going to take you through the main features of the game and take you through a sample turn to help you decide on whether or not this is one you'd like to back on Kickstarter. They're also going to be featuring a little card game that has a lot of the same mechanics as this in a nice little box. So I'm going to show you some of the features of that as well. As always, if you find these videos helpful, if you like what I do, please consider that like button, subscribing to my channel. It's one of these ways you can support channels like mine so we can continue to grow and be able to produce this content. If you want to stay in on all my videos, also considering that bell so you get notifications anytime I release new content. So let's go ahead and head to the table and we'll see what this one's all about. The first thing I want to start by looking at is the player boards, and each player is going to choose a board at the beginning of the game, and there are going to be 4 different ones to choose from. You'll have the medics, creators, specialists, and techies. Each player board is also going to be double-sided with a male side and a female side. From there, it's also going to give you a quick reference for a player turn and all the different things you can do during that turn. Each player is also going to start the game with 3 action tokens or dice, and you can use these to plan out your turn in between turns if you want to, numbering the actions in which order you wish to take. Other than that, these won't have any relevance. Each player will have 3 workers on their board, along with the 3 different power plants. You'll have solar, wind, and hydro. Each player will also have some flags that they'll place out once they take control of certain countries. Players are also going to have 2 different level tracks. The first are for renewable energy. As players gain green cubes, they're going to place them in here, and they'll be able to spend these cubes up until the point where the meter is full on each one of these categories. And they can use those to eliminate carbon at certain points throughout their turn. Players also have a second track, which is the skill track. As they get skill tokens from either completing their levels or other different actions that they can take, they can spend those to do a variety of different things, including gaining mega power plants, which are very important throughout the game. Then on this side are all the different actions that a player can take, and they'll be able to take an action by placing one of their dice in that section. For example, this would allow us to activate countries, being able to play country cards, and I'll go over that a little bit more later. And each one of these can hold any number of cubes in it to activate up until the maximum number of cubes or actions a player can take. Underneath that are additional actions the player can do, including trading actions where they can trade with the bank or other players to get different resources that they potentially need, or coins. Underneath that is the Be Special, and this is going to allow a player to draw from another player or their cards. Each player is going to have a specialty, or each type of career is going to have a certain specialty. For example, with creators, they are good at reducing time. Scientists will allow you to trade better. The medics are going to heal workers, and the techies are going to predict cards. And each one of the decks is going to have 3 cards in it. 2 of the cards are going to give bonuses or certain abilities that are good for the players, and 1 is going to have negative effects where you're going to have to place 3 carbons, as each choice that you make can have consequences to it. At the top of the board is also going to be a victory track if you're playing in competitive mode. Each time you neutralize a country, you'll get to place a marker in there signifying that you've completed a country. The first player to 5 plants is going to be the winner of the game in a competitive mode. There are also 3 different decks of cards that players are going to mainly be interacting with throughout the game. The first are energy cards, and this will provide you with different ways to build different types of buildings to make your countries carbon neutral. Each one of these will list the amount of time it takes to build them, whether it is immediate or a number of years that it'll take. Each one will produce a certain amount of renewable energy, and some of them will also provide you with skill tokens when you complete them. Each one of these is also going to outline the amount of carbon that it is going to have you build when using it, or each time or each year that you take. So with this one, it's going to produce 9 carbon for 3 years as you build it up. Each one of these will list the type of plant that it is, the different workers that it needs to build it, as well as the different resources you'll need to spend also to build it. The second set of cards are country cards, and throughout a player's turn, they can choose to activate a country that they have in their hand. Each of the countries is going to have the name of that country, its renewable output, as well as its carbon output, and the resources that that country is producing. Underneath that is a scan point, so if you want to know about more information about that country and the effects it has on the environment, you can scan that and it'll give you more information, as well as other stats that are listed on the country, including its breakdown in its rank, as well as the breakdown of its different production, including using fossil fuels, nuclear, hydro, and others. The final deck of cards are the action cards, and this deck is going to contain a whole collection of different types of cards, including goals that will allow you to work towards a different objective, being special, which will allow you to draw your or other players' cards. Impact cards will reduce the effects of disasters as they come up, or disaster cards that will trigger a disaster. You'll also find extra action cards and awareness cards, which by taking or just describing and talking about the different conditions will give you certain rewards, and you can scan to find out even more information. Some of these cards will grant you renewable energy and or carbon that will impact you, as well as special skill tokens. And each one of these cards will also have an icon up in the top corner. When you have a certain set of these, you can cash them in and get different benefits as well. There are 5 different resources included in the game as well: money, water, minerals, fossil fuels, and metal. There's going to be a market throughout the game, and this market is going to fluctuate, allowing you to buy goods or sell goods at a given rate. For example, at the beginning of the game, a market is going to have a 2-to-1 ratio, meaning that you have to trade 2 resources of a given type for 1 money. And as you do this, those resources will increase. So if we do a trade of minerals, we'll have to spend 2 minerals to get a money, but after that we'll have to spend 3 minerals to get a money, or once we do that, then it'll be 4 minerals. From there, once somebody does that, it will reset back down to 2, and these will continue fluctuating throughout the game as players trade for different materials, or even being able to do other actions that will manipulate the market, both favorably and not favorably. Another major feature of the game is the Terra Globe, and this is going to be constructed and placed out at the beginning of the game, and then based on the number of players, you're going to place one of the bases on there, the 2-player base, or a 2 to 4 player base, or a 3 to 6 player base. And then throughout the game, you're going to be placing carbon cubes on top of this, trying to dexterously balance these on top of the Terra Globe. If at any point a carbon cube falls off of the globe, a disaster has happened. You'll draw one of the disaster cards, which are going to have all kinds of different effects, including heat waves, viruses, firestorms, and flooding, and many more. Each one of these is going to outline how you're going to resolve it, usually taking a certain number of cubes and releasing them a certain distance above the board. And each one of these cards will have units on the side, so you'll list that number, you'll hold the card up and hold your hand with the tokens in there, as you're going to see in a minute. From there, then you're going to have to resolve the effects after those cubes land, and on the other side is going to be the impact area. You'll measure from the center points to different directions, and then based on the number of cubes that are in a given area that a player controls or has a flag in, there'll be all kinds of different negative effects that are going to impact one or more players. So the last thing I want to go over before getting into the game is the board itself. So the board is going to have the world map on it, and you will also have a track going around there for each one of the players that is going to track the player's turn. Each game is going to take place over 10 turns, depending upon if you're playing cooperative or competitive. There's going to be different victory conditions. In the competitive mode, the player that is able to bring 5 countries to carbon neutral status first will be the winner of the game, and this will be tracked on each one of the players' boards. In the cooperative mode, you're going to use the victory track on the side, and as a collective group of players, you're trying to bring 8 countries to carbon neutral status. If you're able to do that before the end of the game, or before 5 disasters strike, then the players have won the game. If the players end up triggering 5 disasters, the game is over immediately and the players have lost. You'll also place out the Terra Globe out in the middle of the board so that all players can reach it. And throughout the game, this is where you're going to be stacking these carbon cubes on there, and that is going to be outlined by a number of different effects. If the cubes ever fall off of there, that's when you're going to trigger one of those nasty disasters. Before getting into the player turn, let's go ahead and take a look at the card game real quick. So this is an additional game that you can choose to purchase. With this one, this game can play all the way up to 6, and this is a competitive game where the players are competing against each other to be the first player to complete 5 or bring 5 countries to carbon neutral status. Throughout the game, the players are going to go over rounds, and during a player's turn, they're going to go ahead and play their cards. Just like in the other game, you will have country cards and you will have energy cards, as well as action cards. Now, each player's turn, they're going to be able to build 1 or more countries, and then they're going to be able to hopefully build energy plants to help bring those countries to neutral status. So if I show you a turn of this, let's go ahead and take a look at this, and let's go ahead and start with a hard one. So we'll go ahead and build Kuwait. So this one is going to have us add 10 carbon tokens to the board. And again, we can do this any way we want to. So I'm going to go ahead and try to do 9 in 1 here. Maybe, nope, I don't think that's going to work. So let's try 6 on there and see if we can get that to go. Okay, oh, we got it. All right, so I've added all 10 of those cubes there. So at this point, that country is active, and I can choose to start working on building a plant if I want to. So let's go ahead and let's try this hydro plant. So I'm going to go ahead and place that on there as well. This one is going to have me add 4 additional cubes here. So the question is, can I do that? So let's go ahead and do it one at a time and see if I can get those on there. Ooh, that was close. I saw that one shake a little bit. So let's try. Ooh, okay, so I got all the cubes on there that I need to. And this plant has a 1-year clock on it. So I'm going to add a white cube. And then each turn you get to remove one of those. Now from there, the player is going to be able to take the rest of their turn continuing to play other things. Now during the first turn, this is the first step in the game. After this, you are going to, each subsequent turn, you'll go through a series of steps where you're going to get to remove a white cube from any plants that are being built. Then you have to place out any carbon that you have during that turn based on the active countries that you have. You can also play action cards. So throughout the game, your players are going to gain action cards, and some of these will have challenges on them. And if you complete these challenges, you'll be able to gain more points at the end of the game. So for example, with each challenge, it's going to provide you with a different skill that you must be able to pull off. So with this one, I have to place 2 cubes with my right hand onto the Terra Globe. And it says, ready for the challenge. Place all cubes shown on this card, add extra black cubes, and place the card in your score area. So if I'm able to pull this off, then I get to place this over my score area. And at the end of the game, this is going to be worth more points. Also, once you complete a country, so let's go ahead and say during my next turn, I've completed this country. At this point, if it is carbon neutral, which I have a long way to go as this one is producing 10 carbon and only 1 carbon neutral or renewable energy at this point, and even when I develop this hydro plant, it's only going to add 2 additional, so I need 7 more. But let's go ahead and say that I ended up building these 2 plants on it as well. So that would bring it 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So at this point, then I would be able to move that over. And of course, that would have taken a lot longer over to my score area. And I'll place it vertically so that I know that these are positive points. Now, for example, if in building this, let's go ahead and say, for example, I was trying to build this last power plant on there. I placed the cubes and oh no, a disaster happened. The cubes have fallen over. So at this point, I would move that power plant or that set of cards over to my score area the other way. And this signifies that these are going to be worth negative points at the game. So you got to be real careful as players. And depending upon how you stack the cubes, again, this is competitively, you can potentially mess up other players' opportunities as it'll make it harder and harder for the other players to be able to stack cubes on there as well. Again, at the end of the game, each player will go into a scoring step where each player will score up all their points, and the player that has the most will be the winner of the game. And the last thing I want to show you is a sample turn in action to give you a good idea how the game plays. So in this example, I'm going to be playing cooperative mode. So all of us are working together to bring 8 of the countries that we have to carbon neutral status. Okay, so moving into the green player's turn, so I'm going to go with the medic first. At the beginning of that player's turn, first that player must advance their marker 1 space on the track. From there, they're going to reveal the star, and depending upon what it is, they might get a different bonus or a negative. So I have a black star, oh no, so that means I'm going to have to add 3 carbon cubes to the Terra Globe at this point, and then this will be discarded. Now you'll also find other cubes in there, or other stars, including green stars that will give you a renewable resource, yellow stars that will give you a skill token, and even a white star that will give you an additional action that you can spend during your turn. So I'm going to go ahead and place these out on the globe. All right, no disasters yet. All right, from there, then we'll move into the beginning of our turn. So we would move into the second step, which is collecting CO2 first from any existing different developments that we have, such as different countries that we haven't brought to carbon neutral status yet, or if we have different plants that we're building, we would handle that at this point. And then we would gain any resources from any countries that we have that have workers on them as well. And those will be simply taken from the bank. From there, then we're going to get to move into our active phase. During this phase, I get to spend my 3 action cubes to carry a variety of different actions. So let's see, I have a few things I can do here. So first off, I need a country. So I'm going to go ahead and play my first action cube on activate countries. So let me place a card out that I have in my hand. So I have Venezuela. So this one is going to have me place a flag out in Venezuela, and that is going to be over here. From there, then Venezuela produces 5 carbon cubes, so I must handle that right away. So I'm going to go ahead and place those out. All right, so let's do this one here to complete this, hopefully. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and try to place these other 4 on top of that. Oh no, so we have a disaster already. So these will be placed off and this will get cleared. And then we have to resolve a disaster card. So hopefully it's going to be in some other part of the continent. So we have a tsunami. This is going to happen in the oceanic, and we're going to release 6 cubes, 3 units above the board. So that'll happen over here. Luckily, there's nobody over there just yet, so let's go ahead and grab our 6 cubes. So 2, 4, 6. We also have to move the cube up on the track 1 as we've had a disaster, and it's going to be 3 units above the board, so right about there. Okay, and then of course we didn't have anything scattered too far, so these will be removed again, and this will be discarded off to the side. All right, so now that we've had our first disaster, let's see what else we can do. So I think as my second action, I'm going to go ahead and create some energy, as I would like to build a plant to bring this country to carbon neutral. So I'm going to go ahead and develop and build a hydro power plant. This one can be done immediately. And with this one, it is going to cost 4 carbon cubes when it's in development, so we have to place those out. So let's get these out right away. Okay. Then I am going to have to spend resources, so it's going to require me to spend 2 money, 2 water, 1 mineral, and 1 metal. Lots of resources. I also need a red character as a worker, so I'm going to have to purchase one from that player. And you're always going to have all 4 players out. So even in this situation where I'm only going to be playing 2 players, the other 2 potential characters that are out will always be out, as you can always gain or use their special cards, and you'll also have to use their workers throughout the game. Okay, so as my last action, I will go ahead and hire some workers. So I can always hire as many workers as I want. The workers from my area, my board, are free. Any other player or workers, it's going to cost 1 money to hire them. If it's a player that's controlling them, that money will go to that player. And if it's not a player-controlled character, then it'll go to the bank. As I need the 1 red, I'll go ahead and pay the bank and place that on here. At this point, I've completed that so that I can build that. So I'm going to go ahead and build the hydro power plant and place that out. And off to the side as it has been, or on the board as it's been completed at this point. So then I can move these over to my victory area, as that's going to bring this country to carbon neutral, as it's pretty much already there, with it producing 5 carbon and 5 renewable energy. So with this renewable energy, that's going to complete it, as it'll produce 8 energy. As a reward, I am going to receive that renewable energy. So it's going to take 3 away, so I will get 3 renewable energy that I'm going to place on my track. From there, then I'm going to go ahead and return the player's character to that player's board. If it is another player, then that player will also gain a yellow skill token. Then I will go ahead and remove both the country and the power plant from my area and place it in the inactive area, as I won't be able to gain any resources from that country. And then I will move my victory track marker up 1 space. Now, that is the 3 actions that I've chosen to take, but again, there's a collection of other actions you can take as well throughout the turn. And then you also can play action cards for different effects. For example, I could also choose to play an extra action card. This one was going to have me place out 2 carbon tokens, and then I get to gain an additional action for my turn. I can add in a white die. So if I had something else that I really wanted to do at this point, I can do that. Again, these cards also have an icon up in the top corner that will allow you to gain or cash in a set of these cards to be able to help you build a mega power plant as well. So that is the end of that player's turn, and at the end of the player's turn, that player can choose to discard any cards that they want. Each card they discard that has carbon on it must be added to the Terra Globe in order to discard that card. So you got to be careful on discarding which cards that you have, as they are going to have some pretty steep penalties with them sometimes. Then you'll draw it back up to your starting hand size of 6 cards. You can take any combination of cards you want. So I have 4 cards in my hand, so I'm going to go ahead and draw additional country. So I have Indonesia. Ooh, that's a rough one. That one is only producing 2 renewable resources and 8 carbon, so that's going to be a challenging one. So I think I'm going to take one other country and hopefully get one that's a little better. And Finland is really good with 6 carbon or 6 renewable resources and only 4 carbon, so that is definitely one that I want to be building next turn. But I am also going to need some resources, so I'm going to have to be careful on what else I do. From there, it'll move over to the next player to take their turn. And again, this is going to continue until either one of the endgame conditions is met, which is having 5 disasters trigger, or the end of each player's 10 rounds is over. If they haven't met their victory conditions at that point, then the game is over. In a cooperative game, again, the end of the game is going to be triggered when they have completed building or neutralizing 8 countries, making them carbon neutral. Or in a competitive game, the first player to complete 5 countries and bring them to carbon neutral will be the winner of the game. Well, I hope you found this video helpful in deciding whether or not you want to back this game on Kickstarter. If you have any questions or comments, please post those in the comment section below and I'll do my best to answer them. Or swing by over the Kickstarter's main page and drop any questions you have there as well. I'm sure the creators would love to hear from you. You're more than happy to answer any questions you have. As always, thank you so much for taking the time to watch my videos and leave me feedback on them. I do really appreciate it and take into account everything you say to make the best possible videos. Until next time, I'll see you later.